Teen angst found a face, and America noticed. Hi, I'm Matt Hasquin, and I'm a high school history teacher, and I'm going line by line through Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire," and Einstein, James Dean. Here we land right here. So let's tell the story of James Dean here. So, when Billy Joel says James Dean, he's pointing to the short, bright flare of a career that helped define what teenage rebellion looked and sounded like in the 1950s. Now, James Dean was born in 1931 in Indiana, and he was raised for a time on a farm by his aunt and uncle. And then he was drawn to acting with a kind of mix of shyness, but also some intensity that audiences just felt through the screen. After some small TV roles and a breakthrough on Broadway in The Immortalist in 1954, he signed with Warner Brothers Studio. And he studied in the orbit of the actor's studio, and he brought a raw, inward style that was associated with method acting. Think Daniel Day-Lewis, right? So his first film was East of Eden, and it was in 1955. It was directed by Elia Kazan, and it framed Dean as a wounded, kind of like searching son. And then came the one that set the template, and that was Rebel Without a Cause in 1955. The red jacket, the slumped shoulders, this plea for understanding. You're tearing me apart. It turned Dean into the screen's most recognizable face of teen alienation. His third film was Giant, and that was in 1956, and that stretched him even further from this ne'er-do-well ranch hand to an oil tycoon, and it kind of hinted at an adult career that he would never fully have. He became the first actor to receive 2 posthumous Best Actor Oscar nominations, and that was for East of Eden and Giant. Off-screen, Dean, he chased after speed. He raced motorcycles and sports cars. He won amateur events between his shoots. In September of 1955, he and his mechanic drove his new Porsche 550 Spider. It was nicknamed the Little Bastard, and they were heading towards Salinas, California. And there was a junction in the highway, and another car turned across his lane, and the impact killed James Dean when he was 24. Newsreels, newspapers, and whispers, did the rest, freezing him in the public imagination of this youth interrupted. What made the image stick wasn't only tragedy, but Dean's characters captured a new social fact. Teenagers were becoming a market, a political symbol, and a cultural force. His uneasy masculinity, this half defiance, half vulnerability, it matched a decade that was wrestling with conformity and generational friction and the rules of post-war life in America. The leather boots and the cigarette became costume pieces that others could adopt, and there was an ache behind the eyes that made it feel like more than a costume. Now, Dean's legend after his death just kept growing. Rebel stayed a late-night staple. Photographs by Ryan Schott and Dennis Stock and then others just kind of like burnished, the look. Musicians and actors cited him as a touchstone for authenticity. Safety advocates circulated a short interview he recorded about careful driving, which gave off the story, gave the story kind of this eerie feeling, right? And every new wave of young performers found in James Dean a reminder that understatement can be louder than shouting. When we tie this back to the song, when the song drops, when Billy Joel sings about James Dean, it compresses stardom and youth culture and car culture and risk into a single name. You can hear an era where a teenager's posture could start a national conversation. James Dean, as to far, why does he matter? Why go through it, right? But why does he matter? Well, he shows that, how media plus marketing plus timing can turn a person into a symbol. He marks the moment when Hollywood learned to speak teenager, and when vulnerability became part of American cool. So there we go. There's our next line in the song. So when we get to the next lyric after James Dean, I'll be taking you through Brooklyn's Got a Winning Team. Thanks for watching.